You look nice. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Remembering Me and Soul Healing Podcast. I'm Candace Love.
I'm your boy, Brick City Buddha, also known as Docs.
And we are together, married, in love.
Mm-hmm. You feel like you about to tell me something they ain't supposed to tell you. What you about to tell me? Or you was just adding on?
I was just adding on.
Okay. Well, yeah, they may be new. If y'all been here for a minute, you already know the vibes. But yes, we are married and all those good things. So shout out to all the couples that are married. Shout out to the situationships, the single AFs, wherever you fall on the spectrum of love and relationships. Thank you for being here. This is episode 10.
Wow.
10 in that thing.
I always get confused on which episode we're on. Sometimes I thought it was 9 today.
Nah, we just did 9 last week.
Wow.
All right, so episode 10. 10 representing, it's a great book I read called Numerology, the Divine Triangle. If you are into numbers, if you've been seeing a lot of alignment in your numbers, it's definitely a book.
Did she knock over your water?
Almost.
Tell me.
So look, we had a comment from last week.
Perfect.
And we told y'all, so we got three animals in the house, 3 souls. We got 3 beings and reflections of ourselves. We got
Tilda is my baby cat that I raised since she was born, the day she was born. Tummy, I raised Tummy since he was 2 weeks. And then we have Cleo.
Right, and Cleo has kind of been the star of the show as you guys have been following her for van life. So I know we got animal lovers out there. We are animal lovers. Long-term pet parent and pet savior. New pet parent. I'm figuring it out as I go, but I do love animals. But look, we aren't on a professional set. We're on a beautiful set. This is our house, but we keep it very real here. So if Cleo should happen to come through, if Tummy try to come drink my water and knock, we're going to tell him go somewhere.
Right.
Okay? So don't be alarmed. Don't be offended, right? We had somebody in the comment section that just threw the whole cup of Kool-Aid away.
Don't talk to Cleo like that. I'm done with y'all. And so I had to comment and tell her, how are you just going to throw us away after all the beautiful things we just shared? And Cleo's walking over his cup of tea. She's walking over. Like, y'all can't see our podcast gear on the floor. That's why I always keep looking down to make sure it's still recording. And Cleo is like 75 pounds. So she's coming over, stepping on our feet, stepping on the podcast cords and equipment.
She know we talking about it right now,
Absolutely.
too.
So it's okay for us to tell Cleo to go sit down. She's very well trained. She knows how to sit and she knows how to stay.
Right.
And she knows she's not supposed to be over here.
Right. And that's kind of like a microcosm of how this generation of people like makes judgments, snap judgments, 90-second real long judgments. That person or whoever will feel away, they don't see me sprawled out on the floor, laying next to Cleo, just stroking her. And literally that day when I did that, she threw up a few hours later. So we can feel each other. When we going through it emotionally, she'll come over and just stay by us and vice versa. So just try to have some scope in your opinions and your advantages. We want to allow everybody to share what they want on our platforms, but just understand if you get a little too loosey-goosey at the mouth, we're going to say something to you, and then we just going to get you out of here because we're not about to go back and forth based on our life and our perspectives. So.
Yeah, because one thing about it is I don't play about this one here.
Facts.
So what you're not going to do is just say any and everything that you want to say. Absolutely not.
Word.
So that was really funny that because Tummy thinks that our water is her water. So she thinks she's supposed to have what we have.
Right.
So Tummy saw him put his cup down and literally came over and put her hand getting ready to knock it over so she can drink it. We have a very beautiful, safe space here. And so we really want to make sure that when people are interacting with us, that there is respect to be had. And because we respect people, we respect everyone's different point of view, everyone's different perspectives, and how people choose to live their life.
Right.
And we also don't feel a need to comment on the things that we disagree about,
Exactly.
which is the difference. And so I know on YouTube, y'all a little bit more free in how y'all choose to comment, and I'm a little bit more free with the block button. So there's that.
Facts. Okay. So
I have to also touch on the fact that there was one person last week and the week before last, our episode, and they didn't agree with what we spoke about in our what episode was that?
The most previous one, episode 9?
The one where the girl was like, Candace, I know you in real life.
Oh, blended families, yeah.
We did the blended family episode, and there was like 2 comments of someone who didn't agree. But one of the girls from there, she was like, I just don't agree with this. I can't condone this. And Candace, I know you in real life. And I'm like, now, if somebody, my real friend, ain't no way they about to comment on YouTube,
right?
Let alone Instagram, and let alone comment and have this huge paragraph of how you disagree with how I choose to live my life.
Right.
I was like, babe, I don't know this person. And so I commented, I was like, girl, you don't know me. And she was like, well, I meant to say that I just been following you on YouTube for a while. I've only had my YouTube for 2.5 years.
Right.
So when people say things like, I know you in real life, it's like, it almost feels like a threat. It almost feels like you better tell the truth, or I'm going to tell the truth for you. And I was like, girl, you don't even know me. She was like, well, that's what I was about to say. YouTube world, relax. I know y'all been following me since van life days.
There's new things going on.
It's a new dawn and it's a new day. We're in a completely different happy place, okay? We're just trying to share the wisdom and knowledge that we know.
And at the end of the day, we may and even when we do respond, and I'll finish with this as far as this segment, we're not trying to convince nobody to agree with us. We're not trying to persuade you. A lot of these comments, even as long as they're not disrespectful, but a lot of these comments are still teachable moments, not just for us, but as we may exchange with somebody that disagrees, we may learn more. I learn way more from when I disagree with people than vice versa. So just keep in mind, we're not trying to convince you, but these are templates, platforms for us to be able to have a global conversation. So don't let what we're saying deter you. If you do disagree and you want to put your comment in there, just please do so with respect. That's all we ask.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. So with that being said, we got a few different topics meshed into one for today. And it's beautiful how we even come up with our topic tree, if that's even a word.
Okay,
it's going to be a word
tree.
right now, topic
go.
tree, right?
Let's go.
But we don't like really sit down and have like podcast meetings. We live life, we conversate, we do our thing, and these conversations like organically pop up. Something may happen and we realize that may be something we need to talk about on a podcast. So we're going to kind of morph a few different things into the conversation. But the overall theme of today, I don't know if this is going to be the official title, is going to be based on reparenting your partner. I'm going to say that again, reparenting your partner. Another way to say that is, daddy, you're not my daddy. Because a lot of women want men with that daddy energy, and we was talking about when it comes down to the bedroom and being sexual and things of that nature. Y'all will throw the daddy around all day, every day. But sometimes when a man or a woman, but of course we're talking about daddy, when a man goes to play that role in other capacities outside of the bedroom, it's like, you're not my daddy. You can't tell me what to do. And it's a lot mixed into that conversation we want to address. So initially, let's just start with what we talked about as far as the body dysmorphia and some of the things that, you have experienced yourself and going through so many different changes of your figure. Of course, y'all see what's in front of you right now, but it didn't just pop off the porch like that. It did initially. You talked a lot about wanting to get back to this shape, to this figure, and all the things you had to do to go through that. But with those changes, the perception you have of yourself has to constantly be readjusted, and the morphed perspective, the morphed vantage of yourself can be something that people struggle with. So I think that's a good place to start there and make our way into the conversation.
Okay. It's taken me a while to get back to where I am in my body, and I'm not even going to say back, because the space that I am is a completely new space. Before, I was severely depressed at the age of 18. So I was very, very small, and so small, I think I told this story a few times. When I was in high school, I went through my first depression, And I lost so much weight that my teachers were calling my mom asking her if I was using any type of drugs. And they were also asking if I had any type of like eating disorder, which has never been the case. I've just always been a very picky eater, which means that I only eat what I like. If I don't like it, I'm not going to eat. And that stems from a lot of childhood trauma as well. But if you gave me like some chicken, I'm good. If you gave me steak, I'm good. If you gave me mashed potatoes, I'm good. I would eat those things, but I was so depressed that my body was still losing so much weight. Then I got older, I got healthier mentally and emotionally, and then I went through some breakups and relationships with men that just did not serve me. And because of not knowing what to do with those emotions, I would eat a pint of ice cream a day. And I knew what ice cream was on sale. I knew what type of ice cream, how long it was going to be on sale, when the sale ended. And I would eat that pint of ice cream every day. I would eat Oreos, and I would just eat the foods that I knew made me feel better. Because of that, I gained 50 to 60 pounds. I was typically, my normal size is maybe 150. And then also in the military as well, the military kind of forces you to meet a weight requirement. 150 at my height of being 5'5", 5'6", is overweight, considered obese in the military at the time I was in the military. And so coming out of that, now gaining all of the weight because I was so emotionally depressed, and eating in a way that shows my addictive behavior, I was almost 200 pounds. Really, I was 200 pounds. And so it took me years trying to lose that weight. I spent 5 to 6 years attempting to lose 50 pounds. And I was doing crazy workouts, eating regimens and, just doing my best to stay on track, but really and extremely unbalanced and extreme to a certain degree, just trying to lose that weight. And once you and I got together, so many things happened within our relationship and within my healing just started to take off even more than it already had. And I lost
over 60 at this point.
Over 60 pounds in like 6 months.
Right.
So, and that's unheard of. Typically a person is going to lose that amount of weight in a year.
Right.
Maybe more, maybe multiple years. But it was a testament to me losing emotional weight, because the happier I was, the more at peace I was, the more I was really healing all of these emotional traumas. I wasn't going to the gym like that. Right. I was just going to the gym because it made me feel good emotionally. So I had 2 days at the gym and I would spend no more than 20 minutes.
And not even doing intense workouts?
No, absolutely not. I would do 5 minutes on the treadmill, 5 minutes of weights, 5 minutes in the sauna, and I would give myself the opportunity to play around with whatever else I wanted to do if I had more time. So I didn't do anything extreme, but I recognized the weight was coming off. And then on top of that, once the weight started coming off, I started to explore with the type of clothes I wore, the colors I wore. I was only wearing black when you met me. So I was exploring with the colors. And then on top of that, once I actually finally started to love myself, and I'm giving y'all a very quick overview of this story. I know a lot of y'all may want to hear the in-depth story, so I will speak about it at some point. But even as I started to really have that relationship with myself, I had been wanting to have a breast reduction for maybe like 6, 7, really since I was 18. I just didn't know that I was able to do that until I got older and I had the money to do it. And I had been researching the same doctor in Houston for about 5, 6, or 7 years. And once I finally started to love myself, I got a call that I was no longer on the wait list. And I had been on that wait list for years. That's how big he is in the community of what he does. He's a huge doctor and surgical doctor. But I finally got that call when I started to love myself, form a relationship with myself. And I made the decision, literally, they were like, if you want it, you got to get the surgery next week because someone had called and ended their appointment. And so that also took my image of my body to a different place. But what I realized is after I got my breast reduction, they still look the same to me. And this is what happens with people who have body dysmorphia. At one point, I was like, you can't understand something like that until you experience it. And so I don't know that I was experiencing body dysmorphia because I don't want to disrespect the people who are actually experiencing that. But I definitely understand how you can see one thing in the mirror and then other people see something different. And then I also know how the behaviors that come from that. So it's like the fear of, I don't want to eat too much because I don't want to gain too much weight. And then I don't want to eat too little because if I lose weight, then my boobs are going to sag. So it's the fear of having them sag. And then it's the fear of them getting too big and going back to where they were. And so now when I'm looking in the mirror every day, it feels like they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I really had to come to grips with my psyche and really just accept, hey, if it really was self-love, then you accept wherever you are in your journey. If they get bigger, let them get bigger. If they get smaller, let them get smaller. And they have averaged out to what my natural size is going to be. I'm naturally like 150. Right now I'm 145. It's in my weight. And so that aspect of that body dysmorphia, it really forced me to see how I see my body inaccurately sometimes.
And on the other end, even as you saying that, I haven't realized this until now, just hearing you express that. I'm not going to call it body dysmorphia on my end, but one of the things I hear a lot of brothers who are starting to get, their diet under control and experimenting with being plant-based or vegan or vegetarian, whatever it is, weight starts to fall off. And like when I tell people, when I show people the old version of myself, I was like 40, 50 pounds heavier than I am now. I didn't realize at that time when I started to hear what was going on from the doctor and the things that was falling apart within my system. I looked super healthy, athletic build. I wasn't chubby or nothing like that. I was thick, I was solid, but I was actually swollen. And a lot of what comes with the male side is that when you start to eat correctly, weight just starts to fall off of you. And a lot of our manhood is attached to what you got on you, right? Being able to, hold your square if it come down to it, to protect your lady. So a lot of my weight very quickly fell off. I was in a space where yoga and meditation, it had me super detached from my body. So I was super slim at a certain point. I had already gotten some of that back by the time you came into my world. But just by you being here, and a lot of people talk about when you get in a relationship, y'all gonna put on weight. We in love, we gonna put on weight together, we gonna eat a lot. When you are in a healthy and a balanced connection, it should really be the opposite. And you may have been going through what you was going through as far as it shedding and coming off. It was like an unconscious programming that now that you was in my world, I need to be on my square. So now it's not just a matter of during the summertime, I'm going to do my put. Literally, since you've been in my world, it hasn't been that seasonal thing of let me just be able to be out here in the summer when I got to have a wife beater on. You see me do my 400 push-ups every single day. Like, I don't really go to the gym. I just do calisthenics. That's what feels natural to me. That's happening year round. We just had graduation last week, and the ceremony is happening. I go in the back real quick, hit a clip, and one of the teachers like, oh, you was back there buffing up? I'm not doing that for graduation. This is just part of my natural thing now. It's just part of my natural regimen. And a lot of that is unconsciously due to the fact that how I take care of my body is no longer just homage to me. It's homage to you now. Wanting to remain in a space where I'm pleasing and pleasurable to your eye and things of that nature. So it's actually a form of intimacy, every single push-up I do. And with that being said, being that there's a natural balance, we talked about how food is sometimes people's love language in a relationship. And outside of sex, that's the most consistent form of entertainment. Entertainment for your taste buds, for your sensory aspect of yourself. But most couples, what are they going decision they're gonna make every day? What we gonna go get to eat? What we gonna cook? Like, that's a huge part of it. So what is considered a love language between couples when they're not balanced is really a death language, and it ends up leading people to the point where I love you, but I'm putting this plate in front of you. I'm making a suggestion to take you somewhere that's ultimately going to jeopardize your body. That may cut in half our shelf life as far as being together or you being functional while you with me, because we making these choices saying that it's out of how much I love my partner. We just want to go to this restaurant. It's way deeper than that. And a huge part of what came from the conversation that we're about to venture into as far as reparenting your partner is this is the first relationship as a man I've ever been in where I have not only been allowed to guide, to suggest, to see what I see, it's been embraced. You've like really opened up the platform for me to know I'm safe if I see something, say something, like you see at the train stations and all of that after 9/11. But you've allowed me to say something when I see something, as long as I'm doing it with compassion. And it's been a beautiful ebb and flow, a back and forth, a up and down of you coming to a place of balance in your eating. And a lot of what I've done for myself as I've figured out how to approach my diet, but also figured out how to get some weight back on me and to stay pleasurable in your eyes. That homework that I had already done came into this relationship. So now that you was going through that and the world is telling you, you need to know how to cook, your soul, your spirit already know, not only is this brother going to know how to cook, he's going to have some of these keys for you to be able to get back to a healthy perspective of yourself and a healthy approach with your diet.
Right. And that's the, once I was started losing the weight like so quickly, that's when it dawned on me that when you get into a healthy relationship, your body no longer has to store emotions that it doesn't need. And so when you get into, it's not to say that these relationships are unhealthy, but if you get into a relationship and you rest on calling it happy weight or what is it? Relationship weight, then that is a reflection of what you feel in the environment of your relationship, because the body's only job is to keep you alive, which means that the body wants you to have the proper weight so you can defend yourself, so you can survive in your environments. And if you are in an environment or a relationship where you're gaining weight, then that means that the body is using fat or is using weight as a protective mechanism. So now the question is, what are you protecting yourself from?
Right.
Are you emotionally protecting yourself from something? Is your body picking up on the fact that there's something that you should be protecting yourself from? And this is what happens. People look past the red flags. They look past all of the behaviors that a person has, but the body is picking up on the fact that something isn't right and is putting on weight as a protective mechanism.
Right.
So it's not necessary for the body to help you gain relationship weight. The body doesn't understand that. It either understands that you're safe or you're not safe.
Right.
And when you are safe, it allows you to shed things that you no longer need. You shed the emotions, you shed the traumas, you shed the weight, you shed the memories, you shed the emotions attached to memories. So when I started losing the weight so quickly, I was able to see the dichotomy. Am I using that word right?
Absolutely.
All right, look at me. I was able to see.
Of course.
Thank you, baby. I was able to see the dichotomy of what happens when you feel safe, when you feel secure, when you feel taken care of, and when you are properly nurturing yourself, as opposed to when you get into an environment, which is a relationship, and then there's aspects of your being that are picking up on the fact that you don't feel safe, which could be the fact that y'all first started talking and maybe the person you were talking to wasn't fully honest. And maybe you chose to forgive that person, but your body still remembers. Right. But the psyche still remembers. And so now getting into a healthy relationship, recognizing that my body feels good enough to be free and truly liberated, like everyone likes to talk about on Instagram, it stood out to me in a really huge way. But that also came with me having to unlearn a lot of things, unlearn certain behaviors, because what happened was I asked for a man that could guide me.
Right.
This also means that you have to, or not that you have to, but it also means that you have permission to guide me out of the blind spots that I don't see. That, like James Baldwin says, if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things that you don't see. And so what I knew was, I know everything about juicing. I know everything about like the nutrients that comes with juicing and all of these things, conscious on those levels, but not conscious enough to balance it. Right. So if you ask me everything about juicing right now, I got you. But how do I balance that in a regular day-to-day lifestyle? I didn't know how to do that. And on top of it, everybody gave me hell on YouTube. You can't cook. You can't cook. And it wasn't even just YouTube. It's society in general. Right. Society tells women that if you can't cook, you can't have a man. If you take your man somewhere, or your man takes you somewhere, and the first thing that grandmother or their mama say, can she cook? That's the first thing that people say. And so I also knew that I would have to have a husband that could cook, because at that time, that wasn't something that was my skill set.
Right.
And so you coming into my life, not only did you teach me how to cook, but you also started to guide me and show me those blind spots and how to balance those blind spots. And we're still working on me balancing a lot of those blind spots when it comes to food.
Right. And with that being said, I've talked about coaches in the past. I want to dig into it a little bit deeper. So maybe we could infuse, or maybe we could just show, like, hopefully y'all can see that. If not, we'll put something in there. But the koshas are the 5 different planes of existence when it comes to yoga. So, of course, you got the physical body, right? We call that Annamaya kosha. You got Pranamaya, which is your vitality, your energy, the subtle energy that's flowing through the body. You got Manamaya, which is the mind, the emotions. You got the wisdom, intuition kosha, and then finally at your peak, you have Anandamaya kosha, which is the bliss, the heart center, when yogis self-realize that experience that they'll describe is in that level of Anandamaya kosha. So what you really got to ask yourself, if you are in a relationship or you are looking to get into one, what version of myself am I looking to appease as far as wanting somebody? We would have never drawn each other to each other if we weren't both at a level of confronting the mind and the emotions, Manamaya. If we weren't in that wisdom, intuition aspect of ourselves and seeking that bliss state, if we wasn't on a soul level, this wouldn't have worked. Because normally you got somebody at a certain level of how they eat, what their diet is, what their approach to food is. You got somebody that may be higher or lower. A lot of times, just that little difference can cause rifts, arguments, why you eating that, and all these other conversations that come from it. But if at your true north, both of y'all are at least in the same kosha, or at least doing your best to feed the same aspects of yourselves, it will work itself out. When I first got in this relationship, she had the missing piece as far as the juicing. I didn't really do much juicing except for at my job. I didn't have that science. I knew how to cook. I knew how to not just cook, but how to like put together the nutrients, the science of food that a lot of people don't know. I was able to bring that to you, and vice versa. So we was both able to put our informational key into each other and bring a certain level of balance. But that still wouldn't have got to the point where it has, and as we still work through it, if we wasn't both at a soul level of ourselves. So if you are somebody that's really looking to appease your sensational body, your physical body, you just want to feel good, and you got this Hotep brother coming around and he's attracted to you, it's probably not going to work out beyond a certain point, because you are looking to feed different koshas, different aspects of yourselves. And a lot of people don't understand this science of the self to even ask, well, what aspect of me am I showing up in this relationship, and what do I want from a partner right now? And it doesn't make any of these koshas wrong. If you in that physical one right now, if that's where you feel natural and genuine, that's where you're supposed to be. But if you want an aligned partner, you should probably be seeking out somebody that's also in that physical kosha, because anybody that's not higher, but in a different one, eventually y'all not going to be able to resonate together. And with that said, a lot of communication has to happen, and men have to be able to like walk ourselves back to our natural role. And this is a beautiful segue into the real conversation as far as reparenting each other. Each time I may have seen you, like with the book, you've been tunnel vision with your book, getting it done.
I'm tired.
Yeah, right.
I'm so tired.
Right, and we talked about that a little bit before in the past, but not only did I have to mention that, I just want to hug when I come downstairs, get right back to what you're doing, I was also noticing that tunnel vision was causing you to neglect this kosha, the physical body. She wouldn't drink water. It'd be 12 o'clock. Did you drink? No. You had any fruit? No, right? So it was a moment where...
But I had popcorn.
And I was just about to get to that. It was a moment where, I know that's one of her go-to things. It's not vegan popcorn. I got the butter, the salt, all that. But I know evolution is not linear, right? It's a ping pong match. You expand, you unlock another level, you can do something for a certain amount of time, and then you go backwards to feel like the angst, the squeeze of what it feels like to go back, and it makes you want to go even further. So I know a lot of times when you are fixated on something or you're in a stressful moment, the popcorn is going to come out. I'm not going to beat her over the head for that. But it was one particular day where it had been maybe 3 or 4 days. of me asking you that question, you would say no. Like 1 o'clock, the only thing you've really consumed was the popcorn. That happened this particular day, right? And we doing other things. And at a certain point, like maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, I had even asked you, what you gonna eat today? You were like, I'm gonna think about it. Like 4 or 5 o'clock, I go to use the bathroom, and I can smell, I can smell the butter coming from her mom's house, which is pretty much connected to our house. So I'm like, okay, I gotta say something at this point. So I'm upstairs by the time she came back in, and I had text her mom. I ain't mean to get you in trouble, mom. But I text her mom. I'm like, did Candace make popcorn? Because I just wanted to make sure it wasn't her mom. She was like, yep.
My mama, listen, she loved him so much. And you know, it's so funny because it took like probably 3 days later. She was like, I told Jeff you was eating.
She told you?
Yeah, she had to tell. I'm like, why you can't mind your business?
Right. Right. So I knew she had the popcorn twice in the same day. At this point, me having gone through what I've gone through with my own body, revisiting some of those, I don't call them problems. If y'all working with doctors that don't have, what is it called?
Bedside manner.
If y'all working with a doctor that's going to tell you got a kidney problem or you got this disease, make sure y'all correct their language.
Yes.
Make sure you don't receive that language into your system, because your body is going to respond to what you believe about it. So I never say I have any problems with my body. I got opportunities to level up. And some of those similar opportunities I experienced before have circled back in to teach me new things about my body. They're not diseases or problems. Right. But I've been through it. I've seen myself have to go blind, and at way younger stages than you being 33 are. So now it's not even a matter of you lost 63 pounds and it being about your weight. You look great. I know how quickly these type of decisions can turn into lifelong things that could really have you hospitalized and dealing with stuff that neither of us want to see you have to go through. So in this moment, I'm in the bed, and you had already came in the house. I'm trying to figure out how to express it to you first and foremost. And we're going to do a nice breakdown of how men can be better at communicating these things, and women. But I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So I was compelled to start the text. As I'm texting, I was proud of the fact that I had already heard you come in here, and the first thing you did was what?
Make my green juice.
Right? She had already received the message that I'm just confirming from her own body, from her own spirit. Like, you know what? I just had popcorn twice. We're not doing this. We're not going back. Let me make my juices and get prepared. But I still felt compelled to not like double down on it, but just to confirm and reinforce what her spirit already told her, so we could actually come up with a new game plan for this stage of yourself, which we did. I sent her the messages, she received, she kind of broke down a little bit. We had our moment, gathered ourselves, and now we on another plateau. You are on another plateau of being even more firm in your choice to honor your body in this way.
Right. Yeah, you know, one, I'm tired, so I'm emotional too. But the other part is, this is the aspect that people are struggling with when it comes to the healing journey, because sometimes you are required to heal, grow, and evolve before you're ready. And sometimes you're required to heal, grow, and evolve when you are ready. And then it takes the implementing and the integration of the other versions of yourself that still know those behaviors, like muscle memory. And then the aspects of yourself that are not allowed to do that anymore. And so now it's like the average person can get away with eating popcorn or whatever they desire. And the first time I eat anything, it's showing up on my face. You know, it's showing up in how dark it becomes under my eyes. It's showing up in my body. And it's difficult because I'm still creating a vocabulary of food, you know. I'm still creating a repertoire of food that I actually like. And so because of the trauma that I experienced when I was a little girl, I don't eat the same foods that everybody eats. So to a certain degree, I'm still learning about food. I'm still learning about my taste buds. I'm still trying things that people have been eating since they were 6, you know. And so just seeing my body respond so quickly, and I have to like really sit with every
everything that I eat and figure out how it's going to respond to me. And it wasn't like that 2 years ago. It wasn't like that last year. And so my body is just like changing so quickly. And I'm being forced to, or not forced, but invited to quickly elevate with that to a certain degree where I'm like, dang, I can't eat popcorn either. You know, that was last year. The popcorn was my safety go-to.
Comfort,
yeah. It was like, well, you know, I can't eat this. I'm not going to eat that, but at least I can still eat popcorn. And now my body's like, nah, you can't eat that either. Even my little vegan ice creams, you know, like them little good vegan sandwiches.
Yeah, they're so delicious. Yeah.
And now my body is like, nah, you can't have that either. And so I'm like, at this point, it's frustrating and it's annoying. However, the silver lining in that is being able to come in the house and get a text message that says, I know you had popcorn 2 times today. You are not in this by yourself. If you need me in these moments, invite me in. I want to help you. I want to help guide you in these moments. I want to figure out some healthier ways or healthier things you can do so you can still enjoy what you eat and not, to a certain degree, become a prisoner of it. And that's the essence of what my husband sent me in that message. It was really like, you know, I'm here.
Right.
Allow me to be here.
Right.
Allow me to help you in these spaces because this is where he's extremely well versed in. And so he's like, let me be here for you if you're going through something, or if you just are like, you know, I don't have nothing in the house to eat right now. I'm just going to go to my popcorn. It's popcorn. It's the average person eats popcorn, but my body is not allowing me to do that.
Right.
So to have my husband hear what I'm not saying, feel what I'm not saying, and not even keep tabs, but acknowledge, if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things that you don't see. And when you sent me that message, even though I was making my green juice right there, it was also the guilt of knowing, why did I just eat that popcorn? I know that it's going to show up on my face. My under eyes are going to be dark tomorrow. My digestive system is going to be affected. So it's the guilt of that. It's the discouragement of the choice that I made.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's the love that you're giving in the moment where I really needed it. And it was just all of those emotions coupled in one all together that really made me so emotional. But it also just made me feel super safe to have guidance in the way that I've always wanted it.
Right.
And so this is why I've said many times in our relationship that you've reparented me in ways that I've never been parented before. You've guided me in ways that I've never been guided. And you saved me in moments where I don't really have the opportunity or the willpower to save myself. And I feel like that is what most, if not all, women want, to have the ability to just let go and say, I do need guidance right here. I do need help, or I just need to know that I'm not by myself in this situation. And that's what you provided for me all the time, but specifically in that moment.
We could cut it right here. We're going to continue, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for how you handled that moment, for being this transparent, because people need to see that we struggle. Like, whether it's Candace and Docs or whoever y'all go-to people are that you consider an inspiration or you feel like you may look up to, this ain't easy. We ain't just hop off the porch and day by day. Like I think I posted a while ago that forgiveness is not a singular choice. You choose to forgive somebody over and over every time you remember it. So it's the same thing with evolution. And I love how you put the stages that, you know, before you're ready, there are already these blips from your soul trying to prepare you for the version of you that will be ready for it. You get to that, and that may be 2 weeks, 2 years, but you get to that point where you are ready for it. And now that version is equipped to do it. But like you said, it's the frustration. I went through it.
Yep.
A lot of people go through the frustration like, damn, I can't have nothing, right?
Right.
And with the whole koshas, if you are somebody that's in a soul level of your soul's journey, like you have kind of had a bunch of lifetimes of just sensation and physical pleasure and all of that, and you passed that, your layout of what your life cycle is going to look like is going to be completely different from the people who are in that physical so much that they can eat popcorn every day.
Right.
They can eat steaks every day. They aren't called to do what you are called to do in this life cycle. It don't make you better or worse than them. It's just your soul has a completely different agenda from what your mind is going to tell you. Why can't I do what they doing?
Yeah.
Because you're here to do different things. You had a different part of your soul's journey. So that's huge. The other thing I think is the fact that I never criticized you for anything.
Absolutely.
And it's such, I guess, such a genuine expression of my love for you that you feel safe in knowing, even in the tabs that I may keep, it's not to say, oh, look at what you did.
Right.
And when I brought it up, it was like, yo, you had popcorn again? Nah, it was, all right, so I know we've made certain adjustments. We've instilled certain things. What else can we do differently? What else can we incorporate? Let's figure this out together. A new game plan for this particular stage of yourself. And by doing that, she doesn't have to feel defensive. Her walls don't have to go up. It's just like, all right, come here. Come in my chest. Come in my arms. Let's figure this out together. And that has put us in a place where what you felt, well, what part of you felt in that moment that you had relapsed, you regressed, you didn't. You reached another ceiling. You reached another wall. It may have felt frustrating in a moment, but these are ultimately laying the templates and the groundwork for your replacements.
Right.
There's so many things that you may have enjoyed on the other side of things that as you're learning, as you're cooking, as you're now tasting it, she wouldn't even taste stuff when I first met her.
Because tell them about how when I don't know what you was trying to have me taste not too long ago, and you said that it looks like I'm afraid of it. It looks like I'm afraid of food. So, sometimes he'll give me something to taste or try. And listen, if you give me something to taste or try, I'm going to taste like a little tiny bit.
Tongue going to go like that. That's it.
He's like, you can't taste it like that. But he brought something to my attention that was like, look at your face. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I'm like, what I look like? He's like, you look like you're afraid of it. Yeah. Which also brings me back to that childhood trauma, that fear of food in general. So I wasn't eating food like that when I first met you.
Right. And at this point, now she understands if I taste this and it's terrible, it's the worst thing I ever ate, I just spit it out. I know that's not on my list of replacements, but being able to go through that aspect together and now in ways sometimes you don't even see. When we had that moment, I've been looking up replacements for healthier popcorn, even to the point I think it's called, didn't even tell her this. I was going to surprise you, but I think it's correlative. It's this place called Talus Raw in Atlanta. A few people told me about it. It's a raw place. I showed you their wraps before, I think last week, but they have a list of snacks that they ship. And they have a raw, like garlic something type of popcorn.
Nice.
So her allowing me to play my role, and that's the thing with masculine energy. Most men have more of an influx of that energy. Masculine energy is very linear, masculine. I've said this before. It's linear, it's bottom line based, and it's what makes us good at angular problem solving, right? A lot of times women are in a space where they have had to be masculine or felt they've had to be masculine for so long. When you get a man who has that capacity and knows how to do it in the package of compassion and concern, it's almost like a lot of women don't want to allow him to do what he's naturally good at.
Right.
So what felt like the end of the world in that moment, as I'm talking her through it, I'm breaking down these walls, showing her the angles of what her emotion may not be able to allow her to see because she's in that gray area of her emotion. And I was like, nah, this is not disaster strikes. This is not the end of the world. The angle of it is time for a few new replacements and time to go to a deeper level of preparation.
Right.
So now not just preparing the juices because you don't just juice all day. You have your fruit. You eventually cook your meals. We're going to go to the store, get everything we need. The juices is prepared, your snack, your fruit, everything is lit. And the next day, I come downstairs. She had already had 2 cups of water. She had already had some watermelon. She's like, look, babe, I got my stuff. And now was no decision making involved because the masculine energy that I have the influx of, I gave her the vision of that for her to see, nah, this really not that deep. And it's not a matter of I'm not ready to go to the next level. I just needed that angle to understand more preparation, a few adjustments to how I prepare.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, because when you sent that message, I could have easily been like, don't tell me what to do.
Facts.
And but the way that you word it, one, we don't have that type of relationship. I said that because typically women do want to be led or guided by their men. However, when they feel attacked or they feel ego is involved, they don't typically receive well. And so one of the things that we do really well in our relationship or in our marriage is making sure that before we have uncomfortable conversations that we disarm one another. And so his message is not alarming. It's not accusatory. It's not trying to tell me what to do. It's acknowledging, you've cried about this to me before. Even if y'all look at the relationship video that we did, I think the last one we did called Tattoo My Heart and went viral. Yeah. Even in that one, the reason I cried in that video is because I was feeling insecure about my skin. I spoke about that. And so what he's doing is acknowledging, I'm picking up on what you have told me, right? You've already expressed to me that this is something that bothers you. So now that you've expressed it to me, you've brought it to me, I have to make you conscious of this. I have to make you aware again. And with that, it's not accusatory. I'm not, I'm not blaming you for anything. But I do feel that because I am your man and you trust me to guide you, that we have to put some different things in place. And so that looked like recommending maybe there's preparation that needs to be had. Right. And so I prepped my celeries and my celery and my carrots, which is, my vegan ranch. That's my go-to. I'm really simple when it comes to food. And so I meal prepped that. I meal prepped my juices and then my watermelon. But this is where the reparenting comes in. Because if you're in a safe relationship, if you feel safe with your partner, you can take that advice or that acknowledgement or those suggestions and then not only become excited because this is what you're doing for yourself, but the inner child in me that is being reparented is like, babe, look, I already have my 2 glasses of water. I already have my juice. And what he does, he makes sure he comes around the corner. He looks at what I'm doing and he's like, I'm proud of you. He always tells me how proud of me he is. This is reparenting the inner child. So the adult version of Candace is like, oh yeah, thank you. I am doing a good job. Right. But the inner child that was never parented by my father in this way is getting a kick out of you telling me that you're proud of me. It's getting a kick out of showing you, see, like, look what I've done. It's getting a kick out of that. That's healing to me. So we have to become very conscious of when we're healing, especially in a healthy soul level relationship. There's many versions of us that are present, and we are reparenting many versions of ourselves, not just the 33-year-old me. And also keep in mind, my husband is older than me. He don't look like it. Well, my husband is 41.
Yeah. He'll be 42 this year.
Yeah, so my husband's older than me. So it's also that aspect of, having someone that you trust their guidance. And your age has a lot to do with that. Your emotional maturity has a lot to do with that. And the aspect of when women want to be guided by men, it matters that they are open to receiving guidance, that they're open to release their masculine and they're open to releasing the ego that is stepping in and telling them it's embarrassment is really what it is when you have a man that's guiding you and it makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes your ego feel embarrassed. That's what it is. And that's okay. But to be able to override that ego programming and be able to allow your man to guide you in the way that you really want is very special.
Yeah, you allow me to be daddy, not just up there. You know what I mean? But a few things to what you just said too. So, being able to buy a Birkin bag or a Coach bag, like a woman may tell her man, I want a Coach bag for my birthday, baby, right? In this aspect of things, that moment when we was doing the Tattoo Your Heart video, and again, we was just going to display the technique. We didn't plan on having that type of moment. That's why it was so powerful, because as we going to do it, I felt her energy. I felt her emotion. What's going on? We already here. Just start to write it. And as she did, the emotions came. What was going on as far as how she felt about her skin in that moment, which of course is due to, in part, the food, right?
Absolutely.
So in that moment, she's telling me, this is my Coach bag. I want this. You see what I'm saying? And in the mode of the emotion and what you would like out of your best self. Now, from that moment where you've told me this is what you want for your birthday, you want the Coach bag. Now, every opportunity I see to put a few dollars into me being able to purchase that Coach bag with you, not for you, with you, I'm going to do that. So when I say you had your colloidal silver, you drank your water, what you going to eat for tonight, this is all me making payments, down payments, putting that Coach bag of you being at that point where I ain't got to say nothing, you being able to purchase that Coach bag with me. At the moment where the 2 bags of popcorn and I expressed myself and you was already in that moment, it could have went a different way and not just negatively, right? When I asked, is there anything else I can do to assist from this point that we haven't been doing yet? You could have told me, you know what? Not right now. I'm at a point where it may be too much for the type of Coach bag I was asking for. As far as now, it's making me more apprehensive about this process because you constantly pointing things out. And there would have been nothing wrong with that. As a man, you got to be to the point where you're able to say, I've maxed out and what I've been able to put forth to this Coach bag.
Yeah.
But if it's at a point where now I'm overpaying, you got to be able to step back and allow their natural process to get to a point of them figuring out what they need from that point. And that could be the next 2-3 weeks of her putting her game plan together and then coming back around like, you know what, now I'm ready for you to remind me about the colloidal silver, ask me about the water. So either way, it's not just a matter of her having to take my suggestion or walk through it with me. Whatever is supposed to come from her spirit from that series of questioning, the man also has to be open to the fact that it may be you needing to take your foot off the gas, take your hands off the steering wheel, because I was preparing myself for, you know what, Doc, you may be doing a little bit too much right now. Every time I was making a suggestion, that dichotomy was still there. Like, am I doing too much? Spirit, like, no, get the Coach bag, get the Coach bag. So you still got to be open to either end of the spectrum as a man or woman and how you got in your partner.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, because the other part is making sure that your partner knows if I am doing too much, it's okay to tell me. If I am taking you too fast, it's okay to tell me. If you wanted me to guide you in this way, but you've changed your mind and now you're like, I want to do something different.
Right.
Like I just need a break from trying.
Right.
If that's the case, you're still allowed to tell your partner that you want something different, that you don't need any guidance right now. And then your partner being so open to that natural ebbs and flow of evolution that when you are ready, you can come back around and say, okay, I'm ready. I need, help. I want guidance. So I want you to hold space. And the truth of the matter is people can't heal you. You are your healer. Right. And so the only thing that a person can do is love you in the process, hold space for you in the process, if they have the capacity and you're able to say what that looks like for you. I've always wanted, like, one of the things that excited me the most about us moving in together was the fact that I knew that when you moved in, my eating was going to balance out.
Right.
So I already knew this. This was already something I was excited about. It's like now actually implementing where it's like, okay, so you are clear that I want your guidance and I'm looking for your guidance, and it makes me feel good to have your guidance in these spaces. And it's the remembrance. It's the you helping me come back home to myself to remember, because obviously I know to drink water.
Right.
I used to drink a gallon of water a day, but also on the other end of that, my other behaviors were unbalanced because I was drinking a gallon, then I was at the gym, and then I was eating whatever it was I was eating, but I was eating it, And so the eating habits were unbalanced then, but now everything about you is helping me balance out my eating behavior, but that's guidance that I want. And so the other aspect is the men have to have the capacity to have access to their feminine energy, which means that it's just like when women are gaining weight, because this is what happened. Instead of just it being food, you acknowledge that, okay, you're gaining weight. Instead of me acknowledging you're gaining weight, let's just put something in place. How about we start taking a walk together? Or how about we start going to the gym together? It's the same type of analogy. And so women don't want to hear, oh, you missed our workout today. That is too forceful. And so you have to have the capacity to understand what your woman actually needs from you, the type of verbiage she needs, the way to hold space, the energy behind that, because it matters if you're too aggressive and if you're just passive, and then she's like, well, I'm just gonna go do what I want.
And let me add something to that too. Even before you get to it as a man or woman, right? But I'm gonna keep it to the men. Before you even get to maybe we should go to the gym or whatever it is. I'm paraphrasing this, but at a certain point when you was like maybe 2 weeks into the book process, and I think I asked you something like, what's going on emotionally that's making you feel so detached from your body that you're not honoring it right now? So before you even get to the suggestion, you got to confront the emotions that's underneath the choices that's being made. Right. What's happening where you feel so disconnected from your body, where you aren't taking it? And most of us know the BS we be eating or our diets or not working out. We know what we doing. So what's going on in your self-love language with yourself, where these things aren't at least on your mind? That is the first part that got to be addressed, and allow that conversation to unfold. That was me asking you what was going on in that moment when we did Tattoo Your Heart. That was me investigating what's at the core of this before we can even talk about the angular masculine energy of the solution. Absolutely. What's happening underneath what I see in these choices that's being made. And once you get to that point, now y'all can have a game plan created, not just on a desired outcome of how the body is going to look and the health. Now you are going deeper to that, what the soul is asking for you to realize about yourself, just by asking the question before you even get to the solution.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, because even like right now, my sole attention is this book.
Right.
Which is a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, and because of that, it becomes easy to stay in such a tunnel vision that nothing else matters.
Right.
That you forget about other things. Like you see people all the time. Like I remember I was watching a Beyonce documentary. There was times she would forget to eat. And so I would always be like, I would always be like, how are you that focused on something or that committed to something that you would forget to eat? And I ain't gonna forget to eat. But there are certain things like forgetting water or just not placing a priority on water because your priority is what's in front of you. And that really matters. So it's scatteredness.
Right.
That's ultimately what it comes down to, is being spiritually scattered, even though I have been ordained to write my book. But the other aspect of being ordained, and this is something that you have brought up the other day, is your body wants you to actually be present once you finish your book. Because ain't no point in writing a book and I finish it and I'm just so depleted I can't even get out the bed. So, and that's kind of what was happening coming down to the podcast for us to record. I was just so tired, you know. And so these are inclinations that there is a disconnect between what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, my emotions, and integrating everything to where I feel good. And really what that looks like is a routine, is a schedule. I thrive on the schedule. I thrive on a routine.
Facts.
And that's why I was going to the gym twice a week, because I knew that twice a week I was going to be good to go for the rest of the week. And so that matters to me. Waking up, going to move my body, stagnant energy. If you're sitting in front of a computer or a laptop for a long period of time, that's a lot of stagnant energy. And so moving that energy when you go to the gym, sitting in the sauna, allowing that to sweat out of the body. Then on top of that, having a balanced diet. There's so many aspects of healing that involve just movement and diet alone. And so when those things are incorporated, there's a lot more energy to do the things. There's a lot of more energy to make the proper decisions. That's why the saying says, if you're not eating right, you're not thinking right. Because if you aren't eating or moving your body the way that you need to, your decisions are going to be scattered. Your emotions are going to be scattered. It's just everything's connected. It is what it is. And I know that. I'm writing about that. It's different.
Remembrance.
It's the remembrance. And that's the annoying part. Is because I'm so clear. Unless you're talking about things like koshas, things that you don't know about. But for the most part, we don't say anything that the average person doesn't already know.
Facts.
It's just that you know it in the moment you know it. And then
life happens and you forget. And it's like, dang, I forgot I need the gym. I forgot I need to walk. I forgot these things. Make sure that I'm emotionally sound and emotionally stable. It's just a constant forgetting and remembering, which is the purpose of life. I mean, you're going to be doing that forever. If you're going to remember everything so perfectly, anything not growing is dead. So you're going to be on that cycle forever. But it is the constant coming back home to yourself, which is the remembrance of, I see myself getting off track. I see myself falling into old behaviors, old patterns. I see myself forgetting again. And so now it's just time for me to remember what makes me feel good. And this is why when you have something like a warrior ethos, and your warrior ethos is a message, a song, something that helps you remember who you are. It's how you tap into your warrior spirit when you start to feel sad, down, depressed, emotionally scattered, whatever the situation is. But you need to have an anchor, something that reminds you what makes you feel good, something that reminds you when I'm doing this, all of these beautiful things are happening for me. And so sometimes you remember, I love riding my bike. So many people forget that they love doing the things that make them so happy because they've gotten caught up in so many other aspects of their life. So when you have something like a warrior ethos, it reminds you what to get back to. It reminds you what to do to make yourself thrive at the most optimal level, to have the most high frequency. You get to write a Bible of what it looks like to return back to yourself. The other aspect is remembering to go back and read that Bible.
Facts. Truth is the remembering of what your soul already knows. So whenever something resonates as true to you, it's because your soul is like, oh yeah, we needed to be reminded of that. Nobody ever gives your soul new information.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I was not texting my side piece as she was talking. I was completely here. We be having this little
Not
game about each other's side pieces and all of that. They already think we poly anyway because it's soul poly and all of that. But I'm not texting my non-existent side piece. It was actually, as I was writing, and this is why I laughed to myself, it was an example of the angularness, the scatteredness that can come with feminine to masculine energy. As you saying things, I'm calculating, points are coming up that I don't want to forget. So the masculine is like, write these things down to bring things to center. A word like scattered could have a negative connotation, but really what it's about, and what I always talk about with feminine energy, is the emotional bandwidth. So a lot of times women have a way larger scope, a way larger band of information, the energy and motion that's constantly coming in. When you have a wider scope, it's very easy for the attention that's trying to pick what's going on to get what? Scattered, because it got all this space. For the most part, men who see things through tunnel vision, peepholes, we don't have this scope. So we just looking at things through this pinpoint focus. And a lot of times the thing that your woman may not even know that she needs from you. And I posted this before. Sometimes women need their men to save them from themselves. It's not a matter of you don't know how to function as a human being.
Right.
Save me from my scatteredness. Allow me to use your pinpointed masculine focus and apply it to me having this open range of all this energy, ideas, thoughts, and desires. Help save me from the open scope, the scatteredness. So at the core, this is what we're really talking about. Sometimes that could be the woman having more of the pinpoint. Sometimes the man could be more scattered depending on where their feminine and masculine energy is, right? So a few other things. Jill Scott, she, has gone viral a bunch of times. But one of the things she went viral for was when she was on the Breakfast Club. And she said it so eloquently. If they was talking about men being able to give her advice, and then she was like, if you can tell me what to do, you can tell me what to do. If you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do, right? Period. And a lot of this process, when men get frustrated, they feel like woman isn't receiving certain things just because we just haven't studied enough the core of these energies. There was a moment where we was coming from somewhere. I'm still figuring out the scatteredness of Houston highways and all of that. So it's certain places I still don't know where I'm going. And I was asking you like, yo, you know where I'm going? You know where you're going? As in reference to putting it in the GPS. And she was doing something, she on her phone. She was like, yeah. And I literally just felt me not putting it in the GPS, us getting lost, adding on a whole nother hour of traffic, the pinpointed scope of what masculine energy sees. Took a few seconds. I'm like, you sure you know where you're going? No. So as funny as it may be, the more you start to understand the difference in how these energies flows, neither is better or worse, but you understand how to translate some of these answers that sometimes a woman or a man can give you, and you're able to run it through the prism of, I know that the initial, I know where I'm going, even in just the inflection of her voice, the tone, the fact that she didn't even look at me. She was like just doing what she was doing. I was translating that as she probably don't know where she's going, so I should probably ask her one more time. And even there being some angst in, I don't want to annoy her by asking her this again. And her telling like, yeah, I just said I know. But me understanding it, asking again, like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I put it in the GPS, the day it's saved, right? These are some of the opportunities we have to study our partners, and not just for the sake of learning a partner, but learning the other end of the energy that's going to influence every single aspect of your life. All your creations, whether it's you making a song, creating a business plan, it comes down to the concert, to the dance of masculine and feminine energy. So learning your partner is literally learning how to create in life altogether.
And the aspect of, if you can tell me what to do, you can tell me what to do. If you can't tell me what to do, then you can't. Women know exactly what that means.
Facts.
And so you have to think about it like, so for me, I've spent majority of my relationships in relationship with the man that I didn't trust, that I knew doggone well couldn't guide me, which also led into more of my masculinity having to show up and do things that I knew they weren't going to do. I had to take care of things that I knew they weren't going to take care of, or didn't have the capacity to take care of. So it always made me feel like the man in my relationship. And so I didn't trust their guidance, which is the issue with most women. They don't trust their man's guidance, which is more of a compatibility issue, and also you expressing the type of guidance that you would like to have from your man. Now, this is going into gender roles. You don't have to adhere to all gender roles. We don't adhere to,
Facts.
I mean, this just happens to fall in the place of gender roles, and it also just happens to fall into place with what my inner child wants. I enjoy that my husband reparents me, so that makes me feel good. But the aspect of men understanding that you have to get to a space to where you are mindful of what your woman actually needs and where they need you to step in at, because maybe they don't want to have guidance in many areas. Maybe there's a particular area that they do want to have guidance in, but they also need to be able to trust that you even have the capacity to guide them.
Right.
Where you gonna guide me to? Right? Do you have all of your things in order to where you can't even tell me what to do?
Right.
What if my husband wasn't even eating the way that he's eating? What if he wasn't, as plant-based and non-gluten-free, and he was eating whatever he wanted?
Right.
My thought process would be, how you gonna tell me what to eat? You ain't eating right either. So the average woman, she's sizing up the man that she's with in comparison to the men that she's been with. And if there is any inclination that you don't have the ability, if the body's job is to keep you safe, then it is going to stay in that survival mode, that fight or flight mode that says, you don't have the ability to protect me, I have to protect myself. You can't tell me what to do because your decision making may lead me to a place that I'm not protected in or I'm not safe in. So at this point, she isn't just going against you as a person. Her body is literally showing up to say, I don't know if you'll be protected right there. So protect yourself, do it yourself. Don't let this person give you advice or guidance. Do it yourself, because you know if you do it, you're going to do your damnedest to make sure you're safe, protected, and provided for. So it goes back to the survival skill of needing to make sure, if I'm going to give you the gift, this is a gift. If I'm going to give you the gift of guiding me, if I'm going to allow you to have that type of power, that type of initiation, you better damn well do what you're supposed to do with it. You better damn well guide me to a place to where I know for certain I'm going to be protected, I'm going to be safe, and I'm gonna be taken care of. And so one of the times that I first knew that with my husband, I was writing an ebook, and it was a basic question like, how much should I, price the ebook at? My husband is very well versed in business, so like he would know that. He's older than me, he's more mature in these areas. This was my first time ever selling anything. And so he was like, you know what, let me meditate on it first. And that just stood out to me, because the average person would rest on their intelligence, their ego, their business savvy experience. And the first thing he told me was, let me talk to God about it. Let me sit down with God about it. That was an indication that he's not just going to rest on his own wisdom, his own knowledge. He has a higher power that he's going to consult before he guides me in the process. And that was big to me, because now I know that I can definitely trust your guidance, because it's not just coming from you. It's also coming from God. And so I think the part that makes women comfortable in men guiding them is knowing, where's your guidance coming from? Who else are you consulting? Or am I going to have to trust that you just resting on your own knowledge, your own wisdom, having enough discernment to say, I am going to guide you in this process, but I'm also going to listen to my intuition. What is my intuition asking me to guide you with? And how is it asking me to guide you? And how is God asking me to guide you? Those things really matter.
That size up is fire, because I think I was still in training myself early on in my journey. And we talked about the fact that most karma is visible. So, and it's not a matter of judgmental, but if you see somebody that got a big belly, they are working through karma.
Absolutely.
Of, not overindulging. That's obvious. So when you put it like that, and people can be together a day, they could be together 20, 30 years. When this woman may not even be conscious of the fact that, being that she has this wide scope of emotional bandwidth that's constantly receiving data, when she sees how you handle your diet, she sees how you handle your finances, you constantly gambling on a Sunday game and losing your money and getting frustrated. When she sees all these different things in ways she may not even address, because a lot of times, well, that's just what men do. Her soul is making these notes, and when it is time for you to talk about her leveling up in some completely other way, and you can't understand why she refuses to, you got to look at your own itinerary of where you are imbalanced at, and it's sending a message to her spirit, no, he's not safe to listen to.
Yep.
That's fire as far as the size up. And that also, the other end of the spectrum is like what I posted about as far as the close the gate. I had just posted a reel a couple days ago that got a lot of traction. And, we got an electronic gate. So with my masculine energy, I'm always doing my checks and balances in every way, shape, or form. Sometimes I'm not even privy to. But as far as coming out the crib, of course, one of the things is to close the gate, to lock the door when we are coming in the house, stuff like that. And I was able to realize maybe a couple of weeks ago, it didn't bother me to the point where I needed to say, can you stop doing that? I was just able to notice the energy of the emotion of previous versions of myself that was not listened to, that wasn't allowed to father previous partners in the way I may have been capable of or wanted to. And understanding that your history has been having to step up in the role of the masculine energy, where you may have had to tell your previous partners because they're going to forget, close the gate, right? But I was able to notice that there was a certain level of angst that would pop up every time you would remind me, nothing sinister about it, to just close the gate. So a lot of times when women do get in, or men, but when women do get in a position where you are with a man who checks the balances, who has crossed the T's and dotted his I's to the best of his ability, there may still be certain judgments from previous versions of yourself with those men that didn't measure up in those ways, where you're now superimposing that overt masculine energy onto a man who can handle the man responsibilities to the degree you don't got to tell him to close the gate. You don't got to. You don't got to tell him to lock the door. You already know he's going to do it, and this helps the man have the space, the distance, and the moment where she came in with the popcorn to feel confident in what his spirit was telling him, and the fact that you need to say something and how you need to go about saying something. Because if I was the previous version who would have felt the way every time, and a lot of men chimed in on this too, like, yeah, I don't feel like she trusts me because of these little things that I know I got, that I feel like she should know I got, but she's still telling me anyway. These little moments start to, when you don't have to tell me to close the gate, they turn into confidence and communication, confidence in me being able to like properly reparent you. And now I got a reservoir, I got a certain cachet of understanding. She trusts me. She trusts me to the degree where some of the things she would have had to tell other men don't even have to come up now. So now that I'm in a moment where I may feel, which way am I supposed to go? Listen to your spirit and listen to the foundation of trust that she has already established in the moments where she don't say, baby, close the gate, because she know I got it.
Yeah, and you know, so when I saw that post that you made, and I read the caption or listened to what you said, it caught me off guard. We were upstairs and I was like, and I just took a little minute to sit with it, and I'm like, so if that because I didn't know that made you feel angst. And then also recognizing that the angst comes from a past.
Yeah, it wasn't even this version. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes from a past of being in relationships with women who just at some point were feeling even inferior to the wealth of knowledge that you have.
Right.
And how that just would, you know, really make them feel like you ain't my daddy. You can't tell me what to do. And you're just trying to help. And so I recognize in reading that the angst is like a triggering sensation of that. Like, don't you know I love you?
Right.
Don't you know my main priority is making sure that you are safe, we're taken care of. So when I read that, and I'm like, oh man, I was doing that and that was causing him angst. Why was I doing that? And so on the surface, it's like, I'm just reminding you to close the gate.
Absolutely.
Like, this is where people will stop in the conversation. They won't go underneath that layer. They'll just be like, okay, you're doing the most. I'm just saying, close the gate so you don't forget. But why do I have to remind the person that I know has a priority of making sure I'm safe to do something that he's already thinking about doing?
Right.
And so I had to sit with it and think about, it's the fact that there's versions of me that are still showing up in my masculine to make sure if you don't get it, at least I got it.
Right.
If you don't take care of it, at least I take care of it. It's the version that's fearful that safety may not be present. So it's like trying to get ahead of it. It's like, make sure you close the gate. Make sure it's getting ahead of the fact just in case he forgets. That's the masculine in myself stepping in, like, there's a possibility you won't be protected.
Right.
There's a possibility you won't be safe. To make sure that this doesn't happen, say this. Make sure you don't forget to close the gate. This is how subtle the subconscious mind steps in to make sure you're safe. The body's only job is to keep you alive. So it's thinking of ways even before you're conscious of why you said it. Right? The average person is like, no, I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget to close the gate.
And that would have been an argument.
Exactly, right. And so it's like, nah, it's deeper than just the reminder. It's, oh, there's a part of me that is scared that she won't feel safe, that she won't be protected. And the part that's like so used to having to jump in and be the man in the relationship. The part that's always used to having to do the things that I want a man to do, want my man to do. And then the part that's like, but it's never happened in the past.
Right.
So how do you know that it's going to happen right now?
Right.
We ain't got time for you to hope. Tell them to shut the gate, right? Make sure you're taken care of. Make sure you're safe. That's survival.
Right.
But it's so subtle that the average person won't recognize that that's a survival comment. And it's a comment that reflects that you don't feel safe.
Right. And it's self-defeating because that space of let me jump ahead just in case it doesn't happen, it eliminates the partner space to step up and show you, nah, I got it, to put that version of yourself at ease, to understand, oh, nah, he do got it. I can stop doing this one particular subtle thing.
So you don't even get what you need because you didn't give him the opportunity to show you you're safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blocking yourself. So with that being said, we're going to finish up in a few, but the gender roles, we talked about sovereignty over your reality last week, and to be in a space where certain gender roles with us, as we've talked about, is out the window. We both come together as far as making money. She never expected me to pay all the bills, and to do certain things that society tells us. Same token, gender roles do have value according to y'all unique structure. She don't like to pick up the poop, right? I'm gonna go pick up the poop. I'm gonna make sure the trash is taken out. So we got our certain ways that we approach these things, but we weren't able to discover our particular system that works for us. As far as even in what I do in cleaning the house, I don't like to make the bed. Bed big, it's like 90 pillows up there. Women, y'all know how y'all get with them damn pillows, right? But I don't really like to make the bed. I do it if I need to. I don't really prefer to wash the clothes, right? We've never had to really talk about these things. These moments would tattoo your heart, and us opening up our emotional bodies, our emotional coaches to each other, has handed over the information in ways where I never even had to tell her, baby, I don't like washing the clothes. Yeah. She just know I'm about to go do that. I know the other things. I'm adept and I like doing those things. So your system comes together when you figure out, all right, this is what society says gender roles should be. This is what our family says our gender roles should be. This is what our culture, because culture to culture is different. But then what does our soul story say? What is our experience and exploration of our masculine and feminine energy? What does it say works for us? So gender roles have their place. They don't have to be completely adhered to, but even with us, we still have a balance of what works on both ends of that spectrum.
Yeah, because, I hate washing dishes. Right. Like, it makes me itch. Right, he enjoys it. And so the balance of the dishes, and even today, like, he's helping me with certain things with the book. But because I no longer have to have the tunnel vision about the book, now I have the mindset of, well, what other things in the house need to be tidied up, because I'm not using so much mental energy to focus on one thing. We are such a great team that we just pick up where the other person is not in the place to do it. So I'm not going to wash dishes every day. Lately, we've had a conversation about, like, in the morning when I wake up, I like to come into a space that is like clear and clean and the dishes washed. Because
our kitchen doubles as our office.
Right. And so what I recognize is, if you just finished cooking, because my husband cooks pretty much every day. So if you just finished cooking, you're not going to feel like washing the dishes right after you cook. You're trying to enjoy your food, watch your show, you're trying to have a good time. Right. So I recognize it's like, I want the kitchen to be clean, so I have a clear kitchen when I wake up in the morning. And it's kind of unfair to ask him to wash the dishes after he eats. Maybe this is a place where I can step in and, and wash the dishes, right? It don't have to be every night. But if I want to make sure, if I wake up in the morning, the kitchen is clean, I can wash the dishes to make sure, one, I'm not asking him to do it. I'm not impeding on his rest time, because after you eat, it's time to rest. Right. So I'm not impeding on his rest time. And I can make sure that I have the kitchen washed the next day. As soon as he wakes up, he typically goes downstairs and washes the dishes anyway. So that's just like my personal preference. But there's a balance to what I'm seeing, like what I'm observing, what is needed in the moment. And I think we've done a great job at just observing that.
And even when you first asked me to make that shift to the schedule, I was like, but sometimes I don't feel like washing it at night. And then you just went on to interject what you felt and how it would be helpful. I'm like, all right, we could figure that out. And initially, the next few days, I would wash the dishes after I cook, but you would still be in there vacuuming and stuff like that. As you're saying this, I'm going back in my Rolodex in the past 2 to 3 days. I haven't even had to wash my own dishes at night. So you didn't have to tell me, you know what, I feel what you may have felt in that moment where you agreed to it, but it was a certain part of your rest I may have been infringing on, that you were still open to say, whatever, it's just rest. I can wash these dishes, but you still been taking the onus beyond even letting me know that you saw that aspect of myself. And then that goes down to helping you with the book. When you first asked me to start to help you go over it, when I was going through your intro, I'm like, all right, what approach do you want me to take with this? I could just do punctuations, spellings, but me being an English lit major, literally getting paid to edit people's papers and stuff, like I have that skill set. Never had to use it in this capacity, but I had to ask you, do you want me to also focus on maybe cutting some of the fat and eliminating certain words? Like, nah, just worry about the punctuation. The past couple of days, you realize, like, you know what, I do need to scale down my words, my word count. So now, and you felt bad about it. You felt frustrated. You felt like you just had hit a whole brick wall.
Yeah, I cried.
You cried and all of that. We took our moment, worked through the emotions, and that was like what I felt that first moment to ask you that question, do you want me to do this aspect? My soul already knew that was going to be a need. Now I have the open door to show you this is not the end of the world. I got you, Slim. I enjoy doing this. I know how to do this. Now I'm just crunching away. You're like, oh yeah, I ain't got to pay somebody $4,000 to do this and feel like I'm not going to be able to get my book out. We are already feeling into certain things that we not even conscious of within and for each other.
And that's the perfect analogy, because that's what we were speaking about when you ask, do you need guidance in this way? You give your partner the opportunity to say yes or no. I said no. And then here we are. Yeah. You know, it's a few days later, a week later, maybe a week and a half. But now it's like, okay, babe, I need help. You know, so, but the door is still open, and there's no I told you so.
Absolutely.
There's no, even with the dishes, there's no I asked you, could we do this? And it's none of that. It's just picking up on where you need to pick up on. And that's not even slack, because that's what some people say. Like, I'm just picking up on the slack. It's not picking up on the slack. It's seeing where you can fit in to make sure that you are really a team. And like, we're just such a perfect team.
Right. And you are excited to help, because now it's not a matter of, well, I just asked you this before, like, oh, I could get to it now, let's get it. And it's when you look at your partner beyond just your partner, but as an expression of God. As I was hugging you when you was, you know, kind of breaking down in that moment, I'm looking at the back of your head, just rubbing your back, like, what can I do to help God in this moment? So now it's not a matter of where you was concerned about, well, don't you got to write your book and you got to film your meditation? Or like, bruh, nah, it's lit. You just open up the door. Let me help God.
Yeah, and
you know what I'm saying?
It's so funny, because I was like, but babe, you was going to do other stuff today. I thought you was going to record your stuff today. He's like, girl, be quiet. I'm about to help you edit this book.
Right, and we still got everything done.
Yeah.
All right, so coming to a close, I do want to go through this thing we put together for brothers and sisters, but really for men to be a bit more adept at communicating some of these things, because what we realized in our conversation, there may have been a need for more scaling back of you playing that masculine role. There may have been more need for me to scale up and say what I see, whereas I may have been afraid to do that in the past. So really what we're doing is coming to the middle ground and things that we have gotten imbalanced with before. So we came up with a few different things to be helpful for you guys. So the first thing is inquiry. Asking the question. We talked a lot about the different questions we've asked each other to get a format, a foundation for how to move forward. So the first thing got to be inquiry. The second thing, divine consultation. When you asked me how much you should charge for your book, of course, my mind had different things to throw out. Let me go to God. I have no information that's going to trump or even compare to the information I'm going to get when I close my eyes, take a few minutes to meditate, let my spirit to communicate, and then give you that information. A lot of us skip that step of asking God first because we just think we be knowing. So inquiry, divine consultation. The third thing, timing. There was maybe 3 or 4 days before that double popcorn day where I noticed, all right, popcorn is happening every day again. And it was still progress, because before it would be weeks at a time where it's just, all right, I'm going to just resort to my popcorn.
Right.
This, now you are maybe 2 months into this process where this is the first time I'm noticing you went multiple days with your popcorn.
Right.
But day 1, I don't need to say nothing right now. Day 2, I don't need to say this shit. Day 4, when I noticed the double popcorn and her soul was going to be right for it, now the timing is right. Her soul is right. The moment is right for me to actually get this across. Timing is super important.
And low key, the huge part of me is like, oh, he ain't say nothing? Okay, cool. Popcorn, but you know, that's a huge part. It's like, oh, he ain't saying nothing,
right.
So we lit.
Right.
So you come in to double down like, nah, girl.
Right.
I didn't seen you.
Right.
Yeah, that matters.
And your spirit still feeling some level of freedom in the fact, well, he not saying nothing every day. Gives me the cachet to when I do say it, it don't feel overbearing.
Right.
Yeah, timing. Of course, delivery, right? Your tone. Your word choice, things of that nature, that's pretty self-explanatory. Silent observation. In those moments where I'm noticing what's happening in the 3-4 days leading to the double popcorn fiasco, right? I'm making observations. I'm making little checks and balances within myself that I'm giving space and time to download. So now when it's time to have the double popcorn day, the reason why my expression came across in a way that wasn't apprehensive to you, it didn't bring your wall up, is because for the past 3 days, I've kind of been going over this conversation in my head, if I was going to have it, based on these silent observations that sometimes people just rush to say, well, I saw that, I need to see it right now. Now I can process it for days at a time and make my communication when it's time to come out super sharp, super keen, and super comprehensive. The compassion is there, the data is there, and my ultimate desire to want to see that you get the best out of yourself is all in my message because of the silent observations.
Right. And so the observation matters. And I also want to pick up on one thing, because like right now I can hear the women in my head. Well, we guide men too. You know, women, I ain't gonna get on y'all today, but many women are really like firm in that like Me Too, you know, movement, to where they incorporate themselves in moments where we're not necessarily speaking about them.
Right.
So this conversation is speaking about how we're allowing the masculine energy to guide the feminine energy, and men being masculine, but we understand men and women both have masculine and feminine energies, right?
Absolutely.
That's a given. But yes, women do guide men as well beautifully, right? It's a balance in relationships. Absolutely. Yeah. And so it helped me think about when it came to the observation the other day. You were having a conversation with your son's aunt.
Yeah.
And how she was relaying certain information in front of your son. And so I had heard that, you know, for a good amount of time, to where it's like, okay, now it's time for me to say, she shouldn't be having these conversations in front of him. She shouldn't be venting about grown up things in front of him. And you were able to receive that because your spirit was already feeling that. And so it's acknowledging when you observe, instead of just jumping in, she don't need to be saying that in front of him. There's no urgency, there's a lot of calm energy in the deliverance of the message, because you've taken so much time to observe what's happening. And not only have you taken time to observe what's happening, now you can take time to be articulate in your delivery to make sure that when it is delivered, it's delivered in a way that a person can actually receive it.
Absolutely. And because you had experienced that a few different times before you actually said it. As you were saying it, just like you came in and did the juice, my spirit was already feeling it, and it confirmed what I already knew. Like, I do need to go ahead and speak about this. So absolutely.
Right. So we're clear. Women help guide your men as well, but we're speaking specifically about the moments where women want to be guided by their men, and how to help this situation happen more, because typically these are the roles that we take in our relationships.
Yep. And if you are the woman with more masculine energy, you may need to take the masculine approach from this conversation, and vice versa. That's absolutely homework y'all got to do with each other to figure out who has more of an influx of each. And then the final step is just collaborative solutions. Once we've gotten through all these different things and the information is there, we can put it together and make a game plan with each other. So with all these things being said, a lot of the things that my couples clients come to me about, and they feel like it's the end of the world and we need to break up right now. Sometimes y'all do. Right. But a lot of times these are very rectifiable, fixable things if you have this type of information. If I was y'all right now, I would be wanting to cash app Candace, go buy a book, something, because this is extremely valuable information that we are kind of just giving out here for free. If nothing else, just help us out with the subscribes, the likes, the comments, and letting people know we are out here. We have been growing beautifully, going from hundreds to thousands to 2,000s and all of that. We would love to get this to a platform where we got consistently hundreds of thousands, millions of people being able to include themselves in these conversations.
So y'all, please just share it. Like, if there's a part of what we say that resonates with your spirit, please don't just keep that for yourself. If you have a friend, a coworker, a mom, someone on Instagram, if you can share it in whatever capacity, like, please do that, because yes, we do this because we've been ordained to do this, but this also is our livelihood as well. speaking these wisdoms and these truths. So we do appreciate when you guys show up in that way. So especially when y'all tag us on Instagram,
right,
and y'all send us like messages.
Right.
I have so many people, they don't even stop at messages. Like they'll send me voice notes and they just going in about what somebody said. And, you know, they can't wait to like clip up one of your comments
right.
and make it into a quote. And so we enjoy when y'all
Absolutely.
do that because, you know, we want to interact. We want to have that dialogue with you all as well.
So with that being said, remember WTF you are. Remember who the F, yes. I can't say it. Who the F you are. Coming soon.
Yes, please go ahead and pre-order that book. Even like right now, what I recognized was there's some not policies, but there's some dang, what's the word, babe?
Stipulations.
Yes, stipulations. We can go with that word. That has to be had for the book to be printed the way that it needs to be printed. So I got stipulations that is not up to par with that yet. And so right now I'm working on getting that up to par to where it can be printed out. And one of the things about my book, I need it to look as professional as possible. I mean, I'm putting so much into this. I refuse to give you all a half-ass book. You got so many people that's like, oh, I can tell you how to publish a book. And then you get the book and it look like they literally just wrote it in a day. And I want this book to really be something that people can cherish and they can hold and they can feel like it's something they got from Barnes and Noble. So no matter how much energy, time, or money I have to put into making sure that this looks as professional as possible, that's what I'm doing. So the date of the release has been pushed back from March 31st because there are other tweaks that I have to make to where Amazon is able to publish it the way that it needs to be published.
But if you pay for your copy like I already did, it's coming. No worries.
Absolutely.
Just be patient. Y'all getting all this information in the meantime, so y'all good on that.
And remember, you have the while you wait. So the book also shares as a workbook as well. So at the end of the book, you'll have many journal prompts and ceremonies you can have with yourself and me just teaching you how to implement all of the things that I'm talking about. But you have a while you wait code. So when you pre-order the book, you get a list of journal prompts that can hold you over so you can start working on your process of healing.
And with that being said, she has motivated me, inspired me to finally get down to it. The seed thought I had 5 years ago, Memoirs of a Former F-Boy. I'm in the process of writing, so I've been posting some excerpts. The feedback has been phenomenal. It has been opening portals in my own mind I didn't see yet. So what I would like y'all to do, so we can write this book together, send me your experiences. Send me some voice notes. Send me a layout of what you have experienced with F-boys or F-girls that you feel comfortable sharing. None of it is going to make its way into the book. It's just going to help to open up my mind to see advantages I may not have seen from my own experiences, to make these Bibles that we are making to be able to be family heirlooms, that when you at the end of your journey, you pass it down to your kids, and it's a generational thing. We want to make these books extremely comprehensive. So feel free to DM me and send me whatever you got based on your experience with F-Boys. Those are the his and hers books. Also, the retreat, we still got one space for June, few spaces for July. Hit us up about the Tulum, Mexico retreats. We are both accepting clients right now. I do couples therapy as well as one-on-ones, meditation, mentoring. She does the one-on-ones. And then also I've launched my meditation page on YouTube. Thank y'all for subscribing to that. New episode dropping, new session dropping tomorrow, and we're gonna keep those weekly as well as these podcasts. So a lot going on.
Yeah, so that was when we had our podcast last week, we were just speaking about it like it was the first time. Like, should we add this to the podcast? So now it's going to be on the podcast every Sunday. And this way you guys have the ability to really dive into meditative practices. All of the things that people are saying that they want to do to heal, grow, and evolve. Now you actually have the tools to do that. And now he's showing you how to do your meditation, but he can show you even more if you want to go deeper into that process and book in a one-on-one session with him. So definitely look out for that on YouTube and on the Spotify or Apple Podcasts podcast. Yeah.
And SASHA Flowers coming soon too.
Yes, SASHA Flowers. I told y'all I'm tired because I'm working on multiple things at the same time, including putting up the podcast and the retreat and all of that stuff. So, yes, SASHA Flowers will be out very soon in time for the summer, and I'm very, very excited about that.
One last thing, if y'all in the Houston area, we just did our first friends dinner a couple weeks ago. It was like really for the close-knit friends that she has and that's now becoming my friends out here. But we're going to extend that to the community, and we just want to have group sessions where ain't really no business. We just coming out and vibing out. So look out for the friends dinners if you are in the greater Houston area, as well as our nature walks and hikes. We will be posting information for that. So if you're in the area, hit us up about information. We'll add you to the email list and get you to those events.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna start the nature walk and the friends dinners probably in April.
April, yeah, when I get back. Yeah. End of April.
Yeah. So that's coming up really soon.
Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah, that's all we got. Love and Light, episode 10. What you be doing? It's a wrap. Thank y'all.
Woo! Jeez, I was freezing. I had all three of the ACs on.
Love.
That was a lot.
We ran right through it. That was a fire episode too.
Yeah, it was fire.
Thank you for pushing through.
Yeah. Now I get to be so regular. Oh my gosh. I want to be battle rap